Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm delighted to be representing the Congressional Black Caucus as the Special Order Chair. And I want to thank our Chairwoman Joyce Beatty for her leadership on ensuring that the message of the Congressional Black Caucus, our message, our power, is reflected on the floor of this House and to the American people, to our constituents, millions and millions of Americans that the 57 members of the Congressional Black Caucus represent. Madam Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and include any extraneous material on the subject of this special order.
Without objection.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, it is clear that we will be dealing with Build Back Better for the time of this week and into next week. And so the Congressional Black Caucus will come very briefly this week to discuss and to let our constituents and Americans know that any distorted representation of the $3.5 trillion as not being able to afford it or that it is too extensive is really a misrepresentation. First of all, we support, as a Congressional Black Caucus, the Build Back Better enthusiastically. It is a $3.5 trillion package over 10 years for a country that is nearing 350 million, a country that has not seen an infrastructure investment, a climate investment, investment to deal with electric cars, investment to deal with the new economy of the care economy. We have not seen this for decades, or at least we have not seen this as we've moved into the 21st century. The Build Back Better plan makes the transformative investments that we need to continue our growing economy, lower costs for working families, and position the United States as a global leader in the innovation and jobs of the future. The $3.5 trillion gross investment will build on the successes of the American Rescue Plan and set our nation on a path of fiscal responsibility and broadly shared prosperity for generations to come. Almost 4 years ago, 2017, the Houston area and most of the southern region, all the way to Florida, including some of our commonwealths, experienced Hurricane Harvey. This is my district where the water looked like an extended ocean, $155 billion worth of damage. So much damage that we are continuing to work with it. Why? Because we did not have the infrastructure. We did not have the bayous that were constructed in a way that would hold the water. So much damage, so much loss, so much pain. And so a combination of the INVEST Act and Build Back Better is a must. They must walk hand in hand. One without the other does not answer the call of the American people. It does not reflect in the Lincoln-esque attitude that we all are in this together. Let me read a quote from President Lincoln, who reminds us so much whenever we speak of the idea of what America is. Abraham Lincoln in 1862, as he was seeing the divide coming into this nation, he offered these words: "The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. As our case is new, so must we think anew and act anew. We must disenthrall ourselves, and then we shall save our country." There is no time as we move forward in the Build Back Better, the INVEST Act, the $3.5 trillion and the $1 trillion. There's no time to isolate ourselves as one, or I, or me. This is a time when we stand with America as we, working to ensure that this magnificent contribution to the infrastructure, to the ideas of some of the worst infrastructure problems, from dams to highways to the electric grid, can also stand alongside of child care and the care economy. For example, in the state of Texas, this bill would help the local economy. It would send more than $400 million in Texas to support the expansion of an electric vehicle charging network, with up to $2.5 billion more available through grants. Texas would also receive $3 billion to improve pipes and the delivery of clean drinking water, so needed in our state in urban and rural communities. And Texas would benefit from the bill's $3.5 billion investment in weatherizing energy grids across the country. Millions of Texans who sat shivering in their dark living rooms during last winter's freeze will undoubtedly welcome that improvement. We lost over 150 people in that short span in February when we saw temperatures in Texas that we had never imagined. People literally froze in their beds. One comes to mind, so emotional, an 11-year-old boy froze in his bed in February of 2021. Critically, the bill would provide at least $100 million for broadband access in a state where 14% of households don't have an internet subscription and 4% of Texans have no broadband infrastructure at all. And so my view is that we cannot simply set aside and go for one versus the other. And let me just tell you about the Build Back $3.5 trillion bill. It will provide child care to help our workforce and contribute to the economy where that is needed. Therefore, the plan supports families in need of child care, providing access to safe, reliable, high-quality child care delivered by well-trained child care providers. As it relates to education, we'll be productive and having our children have high-quality education. That's why this plan makes necessary investments to increase quality education by 4 years for all students at no cost to hardworking parents. The plan will provide 2 years of free pre-K, 2 years of free community college. We are investing in people. Health care. Too many Americans are forced to choose between medical care and putting food on the table. The plan expands access to quality, affordable health care by strengthening the Medicare, Medicaid, and Affordable Care Marketplace programs that millions of Americans rely on, but now more could be added in addition to providing dental, hearing, and vision benefit. That's when we go it together. Not I's and me's, but we, us, together. Paid leave that can help us get on our feet when we are having issues with family and health care. Tackling the climate crisis. We have seen the ravages of hurricanes. We have seen Hurricane Ida, devastation that is unspeakable, electricity that people do not have, 1 million people without electricity. Climate crisis and climate change is here. It is crucial that we begin to invest in a plan that empowers comprehensive action to build an equitable, clean energy economy with historic investments to transform and modernize the electricity sector. It's imperative that we do that. We must take a moment to pause and to recognize that any positive steps on climate will be because of us, because of the most powerful lawmaking body in the nation, taking a moment to pause and realistically confronting it, providing the research dollars, working with universities, such as the University of Houston and the Energy Institute, Texas Southern University, looking at ways to provide the best approach to a green approach and climate response, as well as providing the necessary research on new kinds of energy. That is what we need to do. And just for a moment, may I step back to the point about health care. We know it all too well in Houston. We were the poster child in Texas for the most uninsured persons when the Affordable Care Act was implemented. 6 million people, 25% of the state of Texas were uninsured. We still do not have access to health care as we should. And then to add this horrific burden and insult to the women of Texas to write the most heinous bill, however you choose to pronounce it, heinous and heinous bill that would in fact disallow a woman's access to health care. This horrible bill that would have a bounty hunter that would seek to follow you in the midst of you getting good health care. I think this is clearly an unfortunate set of circumstances that we should correct. Health care, your own personal decision with your provider, your faith, and your family. Choices that no one wants to make. And yet this state law was put in place to create a vigilante community to attack women and those that might help them provide access to health care. That's what it is. Access to health care, a decision that no one offers to make lightly, but here we are, a vigilante being enticed by $10,000. Gossip, spying, standing outside dorm rooms, watching Uber cars, standing in front of doctors' offices, standing in front of organizations like Planned Parenthood that deals with health care for women, and just plain providing a sense of intimidation and fear. That brings me to the legislation that we hope that we will see passing, H.R. 5226, preventing vigilante stalking that stops women's access to health care and abortion rights of 2021. I hope my colleagues will join me. A simple bill that simply says you don't have the right to stalk a woman who is seeking health care. It may be that she's going for a mammogram. You don't know. But by creating this atmosphere of money being given to a whole industry of people, ne'er-do-wells and others, some with good intentions in their mind, but seeking to make profit on someone else's pain, that is unacceptable. Hope my colleagues will join me in that legislation. Health care is a right, and we should give that to families, to women, to men, to children, to seniors. That's what this Build Back America will do. Affordable housing, helping homeless persons, tax cuts for families and workers. I am so grateful, and I want everybody to know how Democrats worked so hard for the child tax credit. Excuse me, let me correct that, the child tax cut. And in fact, as I hear it, my constituents, your constituents, their constituents are receiving those child tax cuts right now. Many people are making ends meet, helping their children get into school. That's what Democrats do, and that's what this bill is going to do. Research, development, and innovation on good forward-thinking infrastructure, working with HBCUs, helping them be historically relevant, but also helping them to be stronger in terms of their infrastructure. I support that. And thank one of our colleagues, Congresswoman Alma Adams, who's been a leader on making sure our HBCUs are front and center on surviving. These are our historic colleges founded in the 1800s. Immigration, of course, is a very important issue. And I might say another issue that we worked on the Judiciary Committee with our allotment of $107 billion, and that is, of course, community violence intervention. We put in $2.5 billion on community violence intervention, and that is, of course, was $107,500,000 in judiciary. Part of that, of course, was to deal with the issue of community violence and intervention. So you can see there's no time to waste. There's no time to delay. There's only time to work hard on getting this legislation passed. We must do it as an INVEST Act. We must do it as a budget reconciliation or the Buyback Act of 2021, the better name. We must do it together. And the Congressional Black Caucus stands to be able to say no more Hurricane Harveys, but more work with communities, rebuilding streets, historic preservation, and making a difference. That's what historic infrastructure investment can do, and that's what we in the Congressional Black Caucus stand for. I look forward to us continuing our discussion, and Madam Speaker, with that, I take the opportunity at this point in the name of unity, a reconciliation, a new pathway for transformational government, passing of the INVEST Act, passing of the Build Back America Act, and making sure that we have voting rights, that we give women the right to choose, that we pass H.R. 40, the Commission to Study Slavery and Develop Reparation Proposals, a long agenda. I know that we can do this in the spirit of unity. And with that, on behalf of the Congressional Black Caucus, I yield back my time.
The gentlelady yields back.